and welcome back to another episode of the Game Language Podcast, where we deduce, dissect, and discuss video games and whether or not they speak our language. I'm Troy, and with me always is
Jason.
What's up, man?
Oh, you know. I do this every time. When it said, But I'm doing good.
That's
I'm
good.
doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've been playing a lot of games lately, hanging out. Just preparing myself for next month. We've got some good shit coming out.
Yeah. I wish I was playing more games,
Okay.
but I'm stuck into the Genjutsu of Wilds, despite the lack of content.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? I just need to be in the plains at all times, just killing things. I'm hunter rank 200 already.
Really?
Yeah, it's nuts.
You squeezed out quite a bit out of that game.
Yeah,
Holy
but
shit.
Shout out, and he does watch it. My buddy Ashton, he made it his goal to pass me up, and he did. He was at 208 last time I checked, and I was
really?
like, Jesus.
Dude, okay. So that's all you've been playing lately?
Besides, like, the 2 hours of Monster Hunter 4 GU we played last night. Yeah. That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah, that's all it is.
That's all it is. What about you? What you been playing?
Oh, man, I've been playing a few different things. So I got swept away by Monster Hunter GU. I feel like it's a few different reasons, problems. Number one, Maximilian Dude. He's been praising the game. I keep seeing him streaming it, talking about it. Haven't stuck around and watched too much of the content because I told myself, maybe I'll play this eventually. So, I just keep seeing him talking about it. Two, the sale.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of my friends at work kept telling me, yeah, it's the greatest Monster Hunter game. I'm like, maybe I'll check it out. Saw it was $10. I could not buy it.
Yeah, I bought it for $7 because I used the Nintendo coins.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because we got a message also, news for Flash, for anyone that does have a reserve of gold coins. They're discontinuing them. Mm-hmm. So you have a year until like March 2026, I think, to use them. So I used them. And it took like $2.50 off. Yeah. So $7, I was like, okay.
That's a great purchase for the amount of content that we're getting. I've been playing that a lot, playing Charge Blade Adept Charge Blade. I'm all these like styles and stuff that the game has is crazy. There's like so many different styles that take away and add new moves to the weapons that I've like never seen before. Certain things that it's crazy that originally was in GU and is now getting represented in Wilds, because I played Rise, I've played World, both of their DLCs, and it's surprising me the wealth of moves and like content that the game has had since the past, still coming up with new things and introducing those things from so long ago. It's just like, man, I realize I have really not been paying attention to Monster Hunter since the beginning.
I think that's what finally clicked for me too, was doing the aerial style.
Yeah.
Is that I was like, because I played Greatsword, and as I was playing it, I was just like, yeah, I don't know if I'm really going to like this, because Greatsword has improved so much just from World. Not alone, like, let alone Rise and Wilds. I was like, yeah, this is, I'm going to be real, it was hot garbage is how I felt about the Greatsword. And but then I played the aerial style thanks to your recommendation, and now I love it. Yeah. Now I love it.
It's a way you've never experienced Greatsword before. Exactly. Completely unique to this game. And that's what I'm learning about the styles in the game, is that they've never been reintroduced in any of the games before. So they have completely changed my perspective on certain weapons. So yeah, gonna be stuck in that game for a while, I'm sure. Been playing Split Fiction with the wife.
Yeah. We'll definitely get more into that, but just overall thoughts. You been having fun?
This guy keeps knocking it out the park. Yeah. Like it is so good. I won't get too deep into it because we're going to talk about it later, but I will say one specific thing. It is absolutely ridiculous how many different things we are doing in this game. Not only in this game, but comparatively to It Takes Two, which constantly introduce new gameplay mechanics and like experiences and things like that. And they differ from game to game. And then when I hear him state, Joseph Fares, right?
Yeah.
State that the next game is the one that he really wants to make after Split Fiction, I'm like, I believe him. I believe that like whatever he's making after this is going to be insane.
That made me think, and this isn't a news story, because I forgot about it. But a cool news bit: there's a really hard level in Split Fiction that just got completed and the first two people who did, Joseph invited them out to Sweden to check out the next game.
What?
Yeah, because they completed that insane challenge.
Really?
Yeah. So very cool. But yeah, he's already been working on it, and he's also ready to like show people that love his games.
Yeah.
You gotta love the man. He's just so good.
Yeah. I want to say that's he's probably one of the coolest surprises that has come out of my like new enjoyment for like gaming as a culture. I've always been like a gamer, but the most I used to follow was I'd watch G4 TV back in the day. I wasn't like paying attention to E3 all the time. I wasn't going to like reading up on game companies. I didn't even know some game companies made similar games that I loved. You know, I just kind of played them, enjoyed them, and then moved on. But as I've gotten more and more into the culture and started watching all of the game awards and everything, he's probably one of my favorite things that have like surprised me, because when he first showed up, he was just cussing, yelling. We're like, what is this guy talking about? Right. And then, he has constantly tried to keep that feeling of as a child being first introduced to video games alive. So, yeah, becoming one of my favorite developers.
Yeah, I just love his energy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's find out what's going on in the world of gaming as we move on to bite-sized news. And as always, there's 3 of them.
Yes.
First bit of news, it's Assassin's Creed Shadows launched 2 days ago on March 20th, and it hit 1 million players on launch day. So, sounds like it's off to a strong start. We'll see. We'll learn more about how successful it was near the end of the month, I imagine, because the fiscal quarter's ending. But yeah, it's sitting around a 79% for a lot of like, at least the like user reviews and stuff. So it seems like everyone's liking it well enough.
That's really good, because I thought that like everyone's immediate assumption of this game is it was going to crash and burn. Like it was going to be horrible. So hearing that it's on the upper side of the 70% like review rating, that's good. Like you never want to see a game fail. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly. But on the next bit of news, Pokemon Go was sold to Scopely by Niantic, because Niantic made Pokemon Go,
right?
But they just sold it to the company Scopely. But the interesting part is the developers are still staying. So they bought the dev team.
That's cool,
I guess, but they don't own Niantic. So I'm a little confused on it, but happy for them, I guess. Make that money. I'm actually shocked that they sold it, because the app prints money. I don't understand why you would want to sell that. But
do you know whether or not it's on a like downward trend or anything?
It probably is, because I think the trading card game Pokemon TCG is doing better now.
Yeah.
I know Pokemon Go did take dips during COVID, and it mostly took dips when the COVID lockdown lifted. And people were mad that they were like, hey, we're no longer letting you just play from your house. And they were like, get back to walking. That's the whole point. And everyone was like, no, I don't want to do that. I really like my house.
Yeah.
And so I do know it dipped there, but I'm pretty sure it still generates millions a month. So I don't know. I don't really know what happened to it that led to this, but I guess happy for Scopely. Hopefully they don't ruin it. But yeah. But moving on to the final bit of news, a new PlayStation studio was created by ex-Call of Duty developer. But the new studio is called Dark Outlaw Games. So we don't know any games that they're making, but they announced that they're created and they're making some type of PlayStation game coming out. That's
cool. Any developers or anything on the studio that stand out or anything like that?
I think his name is Jason Blundell. I'd have to check on it, to be completely honest. But he was someone who was like a higher up that worked on like the old Call of Duties.
Okay.
So he's got a pretty good first-person shooter pedigree.
Yeah.
So I do wonder. It makes me feel like they're just going to make a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you make Call of Duty or made Call of Duty, I feel like you should know how to make that great gun feel. So I'm looking forward to whatever they do, at least to see what they're making. I don't really like first-person shooters, but I'll never knock Call of Duty's gun feel.
Yeah, that's true.
So if they can make something that's a little bit more interesting to play and experience, that'll be cool. especially if it has that refined action. But yeah, not too much of the crazy news this week. But yeah, that'll do it for bite-sized news.
Hey, not bad. Okay, so moving on to, our new favorite game, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's the game where we choose 5 games from a genre. Of those 5 games, we choose 4 to represent. Of those 4, we choose one of those games, and we pick 3 sounds from that game. We take turns guessing on the sound. That's how you get 3 points. Of those 3 games that are left, we choose one to choose 2 names from. Choose 2 names for 2 characters. If you guess that, get it correct, that's 2 points. And then finally, we've changed this last part. We used to do one name from the title or one word from the title. We're going to do one obscure fact from the game to try and make it a little bit more difficult, so it's not always the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So this category today is going to be couch co-op games. In this list, we have Cuphead, TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, Super Mario Wonder, Halo 2, love that game,
yep,
and Metal Slug 3.
Another great one.
Now, do you want to guess first, or you want me to guess first?
You guess first.
Me guess first? All right. So we're going to have Adonis go ahead and play the sounds. That's got to be Mario Wonder, I feel like, because those aren't Mario's shoes.
No, I'm actually really surprised you didn't pick this one. That's Cuphead snapping.
Oh my God.
That's the shooting.
That
It's
is the
Cuphead.
shooting. Look, thanks to Mario Wonder, it sounds like his shoes tapping across when he's running. I needed to play
Okay.
Mario Wonder more because then I would have been able to. Damn it! And was that the slap sound of the parry on there too?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck. All right. Dang it. Okay, and then what 2 characters?
2 character names. I have Miranda
Mm-hmm.
and Johnson.
Miranda and Johnson. Is that Halo 2?
That is Halo 2.
Yeah.
And then for the obscure fact, in this game, it was the first time that a new voice actor had been cast for most of the cast.
So it was the first time.
It was the first time in 30 years
that a new voice
that a new voice actor had been cast.
Huh. I think TMNT.
No, it was Super Mario Wonder. It was the debut of Kevin Afghani, who replaced Charles Martinet.
Yep, true. Dang, I lost this one.
You got 2 though.
Yeah, I got 2 points. All right.
Oh, also, one last guess.
Yes.
What game did I leave out?
Did you leave out? TMNT?
You got it.
All right.
I was like, I want a Metal Slug in there, but I
yeah,
didn't have an obscure fact or sound.
All right.
All right. Now it's my turn.
Now it's your turn to guess. All right.
Okay,
Adonis,
okay.
go ahead and
All
play my sounds.
Okay, that last one threw me off, but was it Halo 2?
Yeah. The last sound is the sound of grunts sleeping. So the thing is, almost every sound outside of them sleeping is so obvious, from them yelling, from them talking, from them shooting. But I wanted to put the grunts in there because their sounds are so memorable. So I just went with them sleeping, because if you see them sleeping, most of the time you shoot them right away. So that's like a sound that's pretty obscure. And then the second sound was the battle rifle hitting the ground, because when you die, it just like drops.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Should have done the grunt speech. Like, the ones where they talk, the secret grunts. In every Halo game, there's a secret grunt that like talks to you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're a bad man. So funny.
I thought it'd be too obvious.
Yeah, no,
right.
it is too obvious, but I love that.
All right. And then the 2 character names are Hildeberg and Cala Maria.
Cuphead.
Yes.
Awesome.
And then finally, the obscure fact is the iOS version of this game was published by Netflix. Again, the iOS version of this game was published by Netflix.
Was that TMNT?
Yes.
Okay.
Damn it. All right. And then finally, who did I leave out?
Metal Slug?
Yes.
Dang.
A sweep.
Right. A sweep. Hey,
You know what? You needed it.
I
you
did.
needed it.
I did. You were like 8 points ahead, so I'm catching up.
All right. And that does it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job.
I'll say, I really like the
Golf
obscure
clap.
facts.
Golf clap. Good job. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into our impressions. I'll start it off.
Yeah.
with Split Fiction. I really wanted to talk about this game.
Yeah. I haven't played this one yet, so I've been waiting for you to
talk about it. What I'll do is I will talk about the game and like a lot of the feelings that it invoked, but I do want to save a lot of the like wow moments that have happened. And I'm not anywhere near the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
Not at all. But there have been multiple times that I've thought to myself like, damn, like how did he do it better than It Takes Two? So essentially, to give kind of a rundown of the game, you're playing as two girls, Mio and I forget the other girl's name.
Zoe?
I think so. I just remember the girl I'm playing as.
Yeah.
So they're both unpublished writers that went to this company that got an invite stating that if you come here, we'll grant you a publishing deal so that you can get some money. Both characters have their own personal reasons why they need the money. Very important reasons. So they need to take this risk to go to this company. They go there to find out, actually, we're going to put you inside of this machine. In this machine, we're going to like bring all of your ideas to life. Even the ideas that you forgot about, we're going to bring them to life. And we're going to try to, I guess, encapsulate them. One of the girls jumps in right away. She's too optimistic. The other one, Mio, who I play as, thinks, yeah, this is kind of weird. And in her like tussle with two of the agents, she falls into the same pod as Zoe. We'll call her Zoe for now. I forget her name. And that's what causes the whole issue of Split Fiction. You have two people stuck in the same pod going on adventures through their stories that are somehow merged together in a really cool way. And yeah, and then ensues a bunch of really cool co-op stages.
Yeah, what type of styles do they do?
One is sci-fi and the other is fantasy.
Ooh.
And what's cool is you would, if you watch the trailers on the game, you think you have a great idea of everything they're going to do. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. It's not as simple as you think. And they touch on so many like fantasy tropes and sci-fi tropes that are near and dear to my heart without being just like blatant ripoffs.
Yeah. I'm going to say that's one thing that I've always appreciated about Joseph Fares games is that he just always gives such an interesting take on a lot of like scenarios and action sequences. Like I still always remember like A Way Out, like trying to break out of the prison, but like one person's hiding in like the laundry basket while the other one's pushing. I'm just like, this is stuff I've seen in a movie, but now I'm doing it in a game and it's really fun. And it never feels bad. Like he gets it. He gets the feel of it.
Yes.
So it's cool to hear that Split Fiction's still continuing to raise that bar that he set.
Yeah, there's I want to go through, let me take you through like one stage. So we'll go through probably my favorite stage in the fantasy so far. And this was in the trailers, is you both play with dragons, essentially. You've seen the trailer where they have the dragons? Yeah, so one person's dragon has the ability to glide. The other one has the ability to climb.
Ooh.
And so you have to work together. And this is just one like of the many abilities that they get. So one person has to do like platforming, gliding from spot to spot, but the other person has to latch onto certain levers to create those platforms for you. And so there's a huge amount of timing in there. There's even a moment that is straight up a Destiny dungeon. Like we're like it's a Destiny dungeon because there are symbols and you have to come up, like it doesn't tell you anything about the symbols. It's up to you to name them, determine what they are, and then speak them to each other. So there's even a sequence where I'm like, golf club, fucking flag, like just things that we came up with to try and like get through the puzzle together. And it's just it's not at all forceful, like pushing you into a situation. You just kind of learn. One mechanic about the game is that each stage has these things called side stories, almost like side quests. So it breathes like a little bit of fresh air into what could be a monotonous stage if you're doing the same thing for too long, right? So what happens is you'll come across these secret stages that you can choose to do on your own or not at all, and it'll be a glimpse back into the other characters, like I want to say like deep memory. So where I might be going through the fantasy stage, I'll come across a side story that takes me back into sci-fi, but a weird, obscure version of sci-fi. So it's not the same exact sci-fi that you're used to. And there they'll hide different things like racing challenges. Like, so in It Takes Two, you remember how there was a bunch of co-op things that we could do where we could just compete against each other.
Yeah, little mini games.
Little mini games. Well, these have been taken out and then turned into these side stories. Yeah, and they have no merit on like who won what, other than you win a unique cutscene for the winner, which is really cool. It's really cool. So I want to play again so I can see what the other person says, you know? And so I won't tell you about all the different ones that we've played because they're really cool. And it's fun to get in there and be like, there's no way. There is no way. Are you serious? I used to play this type of shit all the time. Like, it happens so many times. And Alex, my wife, she hasn't been gaming forever. That's something I've been doing. She's played a lot of like Call of Duty, a lot of
Overwatch for sure.
Yeah, Overwatch recently. But as far as it goes back, is like Call of Duty and Skyrim. Those are like her big games. She knows so much about Skyrim. But essentially, there's like, he takes me back to these games that I'm like, dude, I haven't played a game like this in years. Why the fuck did you throw this in here? So, yeah, definitely have been loving all of the little moments that take me back. It's like he's feeding me nostalgia, you know?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Now, as someone who's also beaten It Takes Two,
yeah,
which won Game of the Year in 2022, how are you feeling in comparison, Split Fiction to It Takes Two? Do you feel like it's a major step up or just kind of like an iterative step up? Or do you even think that? Or do you think they're kind of similar in quality?
I think it's quite a step up in certain areas, not so much in others. So, number one, spectacle, way bigger spectacle. Like there's a few moments in It Takes Two where I was absolutely wowed by like the background, the foreground, essentially the area that we just got into. This happens like all the time in Split Fiction, and it's not just, oh, I'm walking by and there's a really cool backdrop. Like, I'm playing that whatever I'm looking at, and so the scale is a lot higher. However, the zones and stuff that they're in are a lot more realistic, so to speak. And this might be a personal thing, but what I liked about It Takes Two is we're miniature. So like, there's not a single thing you come across that feels normal. Everything that, even something as simple as a tree, is magical to you because you're miniature. So there are certain things you'll come across that are very, that for a moment could seem like normal. There's car chases, things like that. And so it's not that sense of like wonder and fantasy as much so as It Takes Two. But I think that's just because of the subject. That's like the only like thing where I think It Takes Two has a leg up. But gameplay feel and different types of activities that you do, completely different. Very cool. Just cheeky as hell.
I was gonna ask though on that on the environment thing, do you think it's mostly because of a preference though? Because you and I both like miniature things, but do you think someone who's like really into fantasy and sci-fi would be wowed by this as much, or maybe a little more?
100%.
Okay.
Like 100%. I think that it is a preference thing. That is just something that I prefer more. Is like, I prefer miniature adventures. I think that those are cool because, like I said, everything is magical when you're tiny. Because none of it is the same. You're completely outside of your element. If you're normal sized, certain things like a door is just a door. You know what I mean? It's normal. So, and I think that's completely a preference thing, and like for me personally.
Yeah, no, I get that because I also like the miniature thing. I mean, you can't have a vacuum boss battle when you're bigger than the vacuum. Yeah, and that's like that was extremely fun. Well, that's really good. I'm glad to hear that. I also really like fantasy and sci-fi, so I'm really looking forward to playing this game too.
When you play the game, who are you most excited to play as?
Actually, to be honest, I don't really have like a preference between the two characters. I think they both are. They're both fine. They're realistic people, so it's hard for me to be like attached to them. I think maybe the fantasy girl might be more in line with what like my mentality. She seems more positive. The other girl, Mio, right?
Yeah,
she seems a little disgruntled at times.
So
from the trailers and stuff I've seen. So I'm like, not usually into that. I like my characters to be more Mario.
Yeah. So I will say, and this is like completely spoiler free, they both have their likable and non-likable reasons. And I actually like that because I thought that I would like Zoe a lot more because of her personality and like hate Mio because of hers. But there are certain things that exist in Mio and Zoe that level them out, completely
nice.
level them out. And that's from likes and dislikes. Like they both have annoyances, but like lovable things about them. And so you'll be happy to play either character. One thing I like about what Joseph Fares does, and I think he even did in It Takes Two. I'll use the bee versus squirrels in the like treehouse level, for example. He gave when you play that game, it's going to be one person plays the man, one person plays the woman. It's a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife type game. The husband is most likely going to want to play the male, and the wife is going to most likely want to play the female. Most likely. What I like is that he doesn't make like a specific character get the obvious weapon or gameplay experience. For the B level, the husband had a machine gun, but it was like honey, but it couldn't kill anybody. The wife had like a sniper rifle, and it did
matches,
all the
right?
Yeah, it was matches, and it did all the killing. So he put like the really important role in the wife's side because she's more like action oriented in the game. And so like I like that juxtaposition where every time you think that you might have an idea based off of like previous gaming, like, you know, our society and everything, how things are supposed to be, he turns it on its head. Yeah. So it's really cool. Like the character who's Zoe, who's more bubbly, you might obviously think that she's going to have more like softer skills or something along those lines. But no, she has some like really, really badass skills where Mio has a softer side on certain things.
That makes sense. He does really good job with character work. I just wish his dialogue was less corny.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, that's one thing that hasn't improved. It has not improved. I'm going to just lay it out on the floor. That shit is corny as hell.
Maybe it's probably because of just like I know the passion and the sincerity behind Joseph Fares that I can handle his cringe. Yeah. But it still makes me cringe. So.
Yeah, it makes me cringe. I think his voice actors don't do a bad job. Right. But there was this one moment where we accidentally, like when we were looking up the cast for the game, I don't know what we pulled up on Chrome, but it was like a bunch of celebrities, and we were like, what? And then we realized that was the wrong list. But it got me thinking. Like, I would actually like to see a lot of top build voice actors in his games to take that part to the next level, you know?
That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool, though.
Yeah, if he can, if not, gameplay is already, like, masterclass. If his story was also, if the stories in his games were also at that level, I would love to see what type of influence that would have on the industry.
Yeah. No. Same here. I'm also still looking forward for you to get to the end. And also, I want to play the damn game too. Because I've heard, you know, speaking of impact on the industry, I've heard from many reviewers that I've watched talk about that the last like level will be referenced in video games going forward because of how good it is. And I'm like, you can't make a statement like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like the last time a game ending like impacted me and I felt like I saw it in other games reference was the Halo last levels.
Yeah.
Whenever you're driving out of a crumbling planet or level, that's Halo. It just instantly you're like, oh, they played Halo.
Mm-hmm. I feel that way about Halo. I also feel that way about like what is it? Crash Bandicoot, running towards the screen, running away from like if there's a moment like that in the game, then I'm really looking forward to it.
Same here. All right. Any other thoughts on Split Fiction before we move on to the other game on our impressions?
Just buy the game. If you haven't, buy the game. You get a free copy to give to somebody else to play with them.
And it's crossplay.
Just play the game. And if you already own the game, buy it on something else.
Yeah.
It's just gifted. I think that these are the kind of games that deserve to be like purchased and like talked about. I'm not even done with it yet. Just support. I think so.
Yeah. Awesome. Now for our next game, this one's a little new. We haven't done this before on the podcast, so we're going to do a review roundup impressions. Just because neither of us have played the new game Assassin's Creed Shadows, and both don't seem to have much room in our schedule to play a 80 to 100 hour game.
Yeah.
At the current moment. So I just wanted to bring up the impressions I've gotten, because the game's sitting around an 80 to 82 on Metacritic and OpenCritic. So it's doing great. But kind of wanted to discuss like the good points, the bad points, and then also just how you're feeling, how I'm feeling. Why aren't we playing it? So from reviews, I read IGN's, I watched GameSpot's, Skill Up's, and Luke Stevens. So those are the 4 that I've gathered my notes from. The consensus on the game is that the writing's horrible.
Yeah.
The story
I've been
is
seeing that.
bad. But the stealth is the best the franchise has been since the beginning.
Okay.
So I'm hearing a lot of great things about gameplay, not so much about the narrative. I'm also hearing, just to kind of keep on positives, the world. I've heard Japan is gorgeous.
Yeah.
The way that Ubisoft's depicted it. I've heard the weather system is genuinely like an absolute game changer. They love the tech behind it. They love how it impacts the world.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the verticality and how good that is.
Yeah. To keep on the like weather one, I really liked this, like, they brought it up in all 4 reviews, but like in spring and summer, you have lakes and rivers, right? Winter, they freeze over, and you can actually cross them where normally you had to swim. But characters, also you and your enemies, both struggle to stay on ice. So you have an interaction with it. Like, Naoe's a little bit more nimble, so she'll just do this. Yasuke's heavy. He'll fall on his ass. Like, it is hilarious. But I'm like, he's got heavy armor. That makes sense. It's a little hard to slip and slide. And enemies will do too. So, like, if you parry them and kick them, they'll fall over and slide. So, a lot of environmental interactivity that typically doesn't occur in Ubisoft games, at least in the Assassin's Creeds I've played. Like, people have also talked about, like, cutting bamboo. There's one reviewer who's like, yeah, I lost 30 minutes to that and realized, I should stop doing this and get back to playing the game. Because they just, like, had fun using the Kusarigama, the, like, spinning blade, and they were just chopping bamboo, and it, like, chops in the way that it does. And it goes for the world as well. So, like, fabric, flags, like, fences, all that stuff does that. So, really cool. It's really good to hear. Now, one of the mixed parts from the reviews is the combat. I've heard Naoe is pretty fun, although her combat's not like anything spectacular. They said she seems to be like the character that is the primary character. Because unfortunately, Yasuke just cannot do most of the stuff that Naoe can. He excels in combat, but the problem is, at least from the critiques I've seen, the combat doesn't shine enough for being so proficient in that you don't really feel like that rewarded.
Okay.
But on the good side of gameplay, stealth. When you play Naoe, I heard it's terrible when you play Yasuke because he can't really be stealthy when you have all that armor on. But this is the first Assassin's Creed that you can go prone in.
Yeah.
And so people have said that that's really cool. Also, they added an expert difficulty to the stealth. So enemies, when you're on that difficulty, and every reviewer recommends that you play on that difficulty, on the highest stealth, because they'll see you on the roof. So now you actually have to be aware of your sound, your sight, and everything. So enemies no longer are just so stupid. They climbed the roof. Whatever will we do?
Yeah.
Now they're like, they hear you on the shingles, they get up there and they'll set traps for you. So the only problem is that, again, the combat, if you get caught, then you have to deal with some pretty mediocre combat. At least that's what I'm getting from the impression. Now, what was some other stuff? So we've talked about graphics. They're beautiful. No one's had any complaint about that. I have heard great things about the score as well. It does seem to have 3 composers. So there's like 3 different feels to the music. Because there's like the traditional like instrument style. But then they have like... there's some... One composer did like African style themed music for like Yasuke. And a lot of people said that's really cool because it uses like chanting and stuff. And then there's another one that's more like synth pop, and like kind of rockish. And this is all, I haven't experienced the music, so this is just what I'm getting from the reviews. But yeah, they talked about that like there was a bit of rock to it, which was odd. But yeah, those are the three distinct sounds you'll hear. You'll hear like African influenced themes, most like traditional Japanese, and then like rock infused Japanese.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird, but everyone's liking it.
Overall good? Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
That's the thing is that like when I heard that in the review, I was like, that sounds off and could be immersion breaking.
Yeah.
But everyone says that it like hits pretty well, and like when the rock happens, you're probably gonna pump your fist.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing too. They said, again, going back to the first negative, the writing's really bad, so the story's not really, you're not gonna care too much about it.
Yeah.
And so when the music is just bopping, you're gonna have fun. And then the only other thing I can think of is gameplay variety was another one that got brought up by all reviewers. They did say that like exploring the world was way better. They got rid of a lot of auto movement, because in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, you could put a point on the map, get on your horse, and it would auto run. You could essentially just put the controller down, go on Twitter or something, or make a sandwich. You can't do that anymore. They got rid of auto running with your horse. And people have actually said that it's a huge positive, because the world is so beautiful and the paths are so winding that it makes you actually like pay attention to the world.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool thing for me to hear. I'm not the biggest fan of like auto movement, if you remember from Wild's last episode. So I think that that's cool. The only thing that was a downside though is that it is still a Ubisoft game. They did say the side activities get really repetitive, really boring. They didn't really improve those as much as they were hoping. So, but yeah, sorry to like word salad everybody. That's the review roundup. If I could ask you, Troy, like what's stopping you from playing this game? What's made it not grab you to want to like play it currently?
Well, I'd say, so it's been a while since I've put a ton of time into a Assassin's Creed game, or I would say a lot of time between each Assassin's Creed game. I played some of what's the one where you play the twins in
Syndicate.
Syndicate. I played some of Syndicate. I played a lot of Black Flag, and
Nice.
I played some of Valhalla.
It's funny I didn't play Black Flag or Syndicate.
Yeah.
It's funny that you played those.
Yeah. I really, really liked Black Flag. That's probably the last time I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed. But I think I primarily like the ship combat and the pirate theme.
Troy liking pirates?
Yeah.
Could never.
Yeah.
Wow, the shock.
I think that's probably why they had me in that one. But the reason why is it's a couple of things. I have to be more selective with which games I get to play nowadays. I'm having less and less time to put into a lot of games. I'm not super excited about the theme of the game. It's as you know, I also didn't play
Ghost of
Tsushima. So I guess I've never really been in love with like the feudal Japan era and samurais and ninjas and all that. It's not that I dislike it in any way. It just has never been one of my favorites. So it's not what I'm rushing to play. And if I am going to play anything, I'm going to play Ghost of Tsushima first, because I owe it to that game to get through. I think that also hearing the I'm not going to lie, the amount of pre-negative feelings that went towards the game really killed my hype for the game. There's so many people talking about different negatives, and I was excited. I would have been more excited to just play as Yasuke and enjoy that, because I've always liked the concept of Yasuke, obviously. But whatever good or bad comes with the concept of Yasuke, and the idea that it was going to be more combat focused with him, because I don't really like stealth in Assassin's Creed that much. I like Tenchu. Tenchu's like my stealth game. So
a lot of people have been comparing it to Tenchu.
This one,
Yeah, with Naue, just because the
That's
grapple
good.
hook and the prone.
yeah, that's
People
very
have been
good.
loving
That's very good. I think that I haven't been following it because of the negative reception it's been getting before it even released.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, even before their delays, like people who did end up giving it good scores, it seems like the delay was worth it, because there was a lot of like glitches and like if it came out in November, this would have been a shit show, is what it sounds like from the reviewers. So yeah, I agree with you that actually the negative press kind of like, I know the whole like Yasuke conspiracy stuff, that didn't really deter me.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. But hearing the gameplay stuff is like at all the
Yeah.
previews that like back in October, that hella nosedived my hype because I was just like, really?
Mhm.
You're just gonna do another Ubisoft Assassin's Creed? Okay. I didn't even beat Valhalla because I got too bored of it, and so
Yeah, there's too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say like the negative press previously to the game releasing, and just the amount of other things that I have to play have kind of deterred me from wanting to play the game. And I can't spend, $60-$70 on another game that I'm most likely not going to beat when I already have a laundry list of games that I still have to beat. I still have to play and beat Kingdom Come Deliverance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's just too many factors. This is just one that's unfortunately I'm gonna miss.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah.
One of the main reasons that I'm not picking it up right now,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's going to be on sale.
Yeah.
I hate. I know. Don't hate me, but I know that game's going to be $35 in about 4 months.
Yeah.
I'm not spending $70. I'm looking forward to looking at that game, especially on my PC, because I've heard of how beautiful the game looks. But I just know Ubi's done me dirty so many times where I buy their game and then like 2 months later some spring sale happens and they're just like, it's on sale, 40% off. I'm like, fuck you. I mean, it's not like lost money, but I don't even beat these games half the time. Like Odyssey, I couldn't beat Origins. It was too long.
Mm-hmm.
Odyssey, surprisingly, I think it's because of the ship combat with the Greek
Yeah.
islands. It felt very Wind Waker. It took me 2 years, but I beat it. And then Valhalla, I got as like a launch title for my PS5. I put 90 hours in that game, and I went and looked online. I'm only at the 60% mark.
Yeah.
I uninstalled it right then and there. I just don't have that kind of time.
I agree. If these are the games that you buy once a year or whenever they come out, that's the game like this is perfect for you. But if you play a lot of video games, this is so bad for you.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I want to discuss because I don't want to be on a bandwagon of hate. I don't like to see games fail unless they do something really anti-consumer. That's about the only time, and there's not really anything anti-consumer about this game other than making you have the Ubisoft launcher. But so many other games do that. I'm not going to wish them hate like unwell on that for that reason. But I will say that like if I had like one primary reason, I do have open world fatigue. If a game doesn't have like a very good gameplay loop, which unfortunately when I hear about the combat and stuff, as good as the stealth sounds, I know I'm going to get caught because I'm terrible at stealth, even though I like stealth. And I don't want to engage in a game that's going to frustrate me more than delight me. And just knowing that, like, as beautiful the world is, the activities aren't that interesting. All of those factors are just like, I just can't see myself investing the time into that when, there's probably going to be an open world game later this year that's going to be like, it is going to have the gameplay to back up the game, the giant size. And so that's why I'm on the pass side.
Yeah. But definitely a year from now, when I've got 4 terabytes of data or memory in my computer and this game is $35, I'm probably going to buy it.
Bro, if you get it a year from now, it'll be $20.
Okay, a year from now, when I have 4 terabytes of data on my computer and it's $25, y'all know I'm gonna buy it.
Let's say I think I saw Star Wars Outlaws for like $25, and I was like, I
Dang.
might.
Might.
But I didn't. But I was like, that's the Ubi sale. But with that, that ends our impressions. We're gonna take a quick break, but then we'll be right back. Welcome back.
Why you like this?
Why am I like this? Because I'm me, baby. Welcome back from break. Hope you guys got your drinks, your foods, your little snackies, or, hope you got that progress in a game while you have us in the background. But we're back, and with our, favorite section, language defining games.
Yes.
And this week, we have a game from you, Troy.
Yes.
What game did you bring?
So the game I brought is Fighting Force. It was an old PS1 game.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of the cover of
Yeah.
this. This is like Walmart Street Fighter.
hey. No Fighting Force.
No.
here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm excited to hear about
Yeah.
this game. Whoa. I'm
Yeah.
just talking about the cover.
Yeah. No, so Fighting Force is this back in the day, it was me, my brothers playing whatever games we can get our hands on. It was the best thing that would happen is when we got a game that was multiplayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd play it on whether we had a PlayStation, PS2, Xbox 360, and then about that era is when I like moved out and got my own game system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we played a lot of different co-op games. This one, I have like weird memories of seeing it in the arcade, but that maybe didn't happen. I'll have to like look into it, but I did play it on my PlayStation, and it was like, imagine, how do I say this? You ever play Golden Axe, right?
The old Genesis game?
No, not Golden Axe. Sorry. What was the arcade game that was kind of like Golden Axe? We play as 4 characters. You were in a fantasy world, and you went through like killing monsters, eating meat, and stuff like that. It was like an old arcade game.
I was gonna say I actually don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. All that
know
matters is
Golden
that
Axe.
like this game tried to invoke that feeling. So it was you play as these 4 characters, super generic characters. I think the game was made by the team that did Tomb Raider, so they had really cool like 3D animations and whatnot. But the guy I like playing as, the main character's name was Hawk. He had like a fucking vest with the sleeves ripped off, and he had your traditional like Shoto moves. There's even Tatsus and stuff in the game.
So I have to ask, because you compare it to Golden Axe, I'm sitting here thinking, is this a co-op game?
Yes, it's a co-op game, and
I thought this was a fighting game.
no, it's not a fighting game. So it is a like a beat 'em up action game. So it's it's a 2-player game. You guys go through essentially there's like this apocalypse or something along those lines. There's this guy in a big tower, and you got to get to the big tower and kill him and beat his ass. And in so you're going to be doing stuff like think Streets of Rage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's exactly like the Streets of Rage experience, except for it's like top down camera and from like not a back perspective, it's like fixed camera perspective. So you go through, you pick up like bottle cans and throw them at people. You like there's this you can beat up a car, and then it'll pop up the hood and the engine will be in there, and like the strong character, I forget his name, it's who my little brother played as. He can take out the engine and throw it at people or attack them with it. And it's like if Die Hard was a video game. You just go through beating up guys, going up this tower to get to the boss at the end.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah, yippee-ki-yay, for real. But it was so much fun. And playing Split Fiction kind of took me back to some of the co-op games that I used to play. And this is one that I've like looked for everywhere, like anywhere that I can. I'm like, I miss this game. I remember being so excited to play it every time I'd like see it. And that's what like takes me back. I think it was at an arcade when I first saw it, but essentially, yeah, you had your main character Hawk was like your typical Shoto. So he had, I think he had uppercuts, Tatsus, just regular attacks. Then there was like the girl character who's kind of like, I think her name is Blaze in Streets of Rage 4. What's the name of the girl with the like red skirt?
Yeah, I think so. Blaze.
Yeah, so she's like got fast kicks and stuff, but she's also kind of like a medium character. Then there was like a teenager girl who was she was really quick. I didn't play her very much.
She's kind of like Cherry.
Kind of like Cherry
without a guitar.
It's like either like Cherry or like the guy with the skates.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So and then you had the big dude, and I never play the big strong dudes. I always play like the regular guy.
That guy, when you sent me that picture, I thought it was a fighting game. I was like, is that Great Value Zengi? Because yeah, he's just for viewers. If you're looking at me, he's doing this on the front cover. Big old dude, just gotcha.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, it was. I don't even know if I ever completed the game. It's just one that we would play like all the time, just going through, beating up all the different grunts, and it had really cool moves. Like you had like suplexes that you can do to characters. You had different types of grab animations. That's what I'm saying is the thing that attracted me to the game was the amount of like. I won't say iconic because the game's definitely not iconic.
None of us remember it.
But a lot of striking visuals and animations for these characters that I mean, if it's from the team that did Tomb Raider, you already know she killed. Like her animations were amazing.
Yeah, especially for that era. Well, then I got some questions for you just to because that was a great overview. I feel like I know what Fighting Force is. It's a 3D beat 'em up.
Yeah.
Fixed camera angles, which sounds awesome, actually.
It was really cool.
The first question that we usually ask is, what's the story like? Like, I know it's Die Hard, yippee-ki-yay, but like, did you feel that?
So,
what do you remember from it?
I don't remember any bit of the story. So I pulled up a summary so I can give it to you so that you know what the story's about, and we'll see if I remember any part of this. So, I remember dude in a tower, bad guy. I don't even remember what he looked like, but I was fighting up a tower. Here's what the summary says: these 4 characters have various reasons for taking on Dr. Dex Zhang, a criminal mastermind with an army at his command who predicted the world would end in the year 2000. At New Year's Eve, 1999, Dr. Zhang believed that there was an error preventing the apocalypse, so decides to correct it by destroying the world himself. The action starts in a police cordon around Zhang's office skyscraper. So I remember a police car and like a helicopter.
So the main villain's a Y2K conspiracy?
Essentially.
Oh my God.
Essentially.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so you go through his tower and like, you know, different parts of the city beating up dudes. So just beating up dudes. It's the most beaten up dudes game I've ever played.
Dex Zhang. That's such a funny.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How were the visuals of this game?
The visuals were cool. So I sent you like a video, so you have to check it out when you get a chance. But what I liked about it was the amount of just like cool referential like animations and stuff they had for characters. In addition, like I think that all the characters like looks were pretty striking. Like Hawk, I think he looks really cool. I forget the name of the girl. I have to look him up, but the majority of the characters look cool. I really only played Hawk.
Yeah,
but
he looks cool.
It was the feeling of, like I said, that like Die Hard experience. Like it was blowing up cars and like beating up guys and suplexing them and kicking them through stuff. It was just like this cool action game that I don't think I played anything else like it at the time. Because we've never had a third person perspective type of Streets of Rage game. We've only had 2D, right?
Yeah.
So think of that, but in that sort of like perspective, there's so much cool stuff you can do with that. You know, I was playing Ninja Turtles. I was playing what else?
The Simpsons.
The Simpsons and stuff arcade at that time. So this was like the big explosive, like cool and like helicopters exploding type of experience. I'm like, oh, action movie video game. Let me get in there.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do you remember the music of this game?
Dude. Nah, but it was some generic rock
song. Some generic rock song. It's some dad rock, butt rock or something.
Dude, the music, no, I don't remember the music at all. I just remember pressing buttons and kicking ass.
I just remember pressing buttons. Well, you know, that's the next part, gameplay.
Yes.
How did it feel to play the game?
It was so good. It was so good. I have nothing but fond memories about playing the game. Obviously, I'd have to go back and revisit it, but that's what stuck out to me the most is like, I played the first level over and over again because you had a health bar, you get killed. I think, I don't remember if there were checkpoints or if I would just never reach the checkpoints. I think they might have been stage specific. I get killed all the time, but I did not care. I remember every time getting out of the police car, picking my dude, beating some guys out on the street, getting into the like little courtyard, fighting all the guys in agents outfits. All of them look the same. All of them look the same. They're all agents, and I'm tatsuing and uppercutting and suplexing. I don't even remember if the combo strings were that deep. But yeah, it was, the gameplay was just the same as how you feel when you play Streets of Rage, where there's just something like bone crunching and like addicting about it.
I'll say, yeah, I like Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
That's fun. Well, okay. Well, then the last question I have for you, how'd this impact you? Because I know you're remembering it now, but it seems like it left a pretty good mark on your memory.
It did. It did. There's a few games that I look back on that are like core memory games. I'll give you like a quick rundown. Even though it's not completely pertinent, I think it's important. There's like an old fighting game that I played that was like a wrestling fighting game where you did ring outs. There was like a main character who looked like Ryu. I'll get the name for the next episode. There was a game I played on the Sega where you were a guy who threw a frisbee, and it was like a platformer where you throw a frisbee.
Oh, wow.
Fighting Force and Sonic. Those are like some of my 4 earliest memories of video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's just I kind of look for that feeling again. I think I look for the same co-op experience I got in that game, where it was just me and my little brothers beating up guys. I bet if I showed them the game, they'll be like, "What the hell? Like I can't." Oh. Yeah, it's just the same feeling, and it's some of the most fun I've ever had, and I think I still yearn and like try to get that feeling of that like just pure like happiness and joy of just beating things up and like seeing explosions and witnessing all that as kids, and playing in the elevator like the elevator stages, how they always have those in beat 'em ups. Mm-hmm. That's the first time I experienced it, was in that like that elevator stage that I thought was really cool. It definitely shaped how I like beat 'em ups nowadays.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for bringing Fighting Force. I didn't I learned something new about video games today.
You gotta play Fighting Force. It is.
Well, we're gonna have to find a way to.
Yeah, if I can figure out a way to play Fighting Force, we will. Yeah. If you've heard of the game, it is. You remember it's magic. It's magic. It's magic. I don't even gotta convince you.
Awesome, but do you hear that? It's a boss theme happening. I see a health bar. Oh no. Oh God. It's time for the last boss. And the last boss of this episode is a question. How does nostalgia affect how you feel about newer games and a franchise? And I've been seeing a lot of takes about Monster Hunter Wilds, so this question was kind of on my mind, since I'm seeing newcomers absolutely adore this brand new game. Mm-hmm. And it makes me remember how I felt, because World was my first Monster Hunter, and I was like, man, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing so many like old school fans just be like, no, Wilds ain't hitting. Wilds ain't doing this. Wilds not doing this. And I'm like, what happened? Like, because it's obviously a very well made product, but like, it makes me wonder, like, how much does nostalgia play into that? Like, is your first experience with something always going to be the one that just is the like defining experience for you? Mm-hmm. But yeah, how do you feel about nostalgia?
I think it has like a really, how do I say this properly? It has a deep impact on how you like receive new products and new games. Whether or not it will affect you in a negative or positive way depends. But yeah, it will determine your first like few moments of experiencing the new game, maybe even the full thing. Certain games where I'm more nostalgic on them are, for example, I think that like Sonic Adventure is a good example, where I have a lot of nostalgia for that game. I play the game a lot, and currently I'm sure that there are Sonic games that are better than Sonic Adventure 1, but none of them will reach that peak that did for me because of how I enjoyed it and when I experienced it at that time. So many of those stages still have problems. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
They have so many problems. I even remember the like temple snake fondly, and I know that boss was like had a huge problem
in Lost World and Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
I regard it fondly, but I also remember several times falling off it and drowning and hating the game for that. But yeah. But the nostalgia in me was like, I still love it.
Yeah, I still love it. Sonic Adventure 1, that's the best Sonic game. Nothing's done it better. Sonic Adventure 2, maybe, but it didn't have. I don't know if Sonic Adventure 2 had the Chow Garden.
They both did.
They both did. Okay, they both did great.
The only reason I always was like a Sonic Adventure 1 defender, sorry to keep it a little off topic, but was because Tails.
Yeah.
I hated that they made him a mech in Sonic Adventure 2. I was just like, this sucks. I liked it when he raced Sonic better, or raced Eggman. I was like, did you bring me back?
Yeah. This is even not more off topic, but just one quick shout out. The talisman you get on Tails that lets him spin forever?
Yeah.
Oh, yo, that's when Tails like immediately got bumped up to equally as fun as Sonic. Mm-hmm. And then I was looking forward to that in Sonic Adventure 2, and you never got it. And I was just like, God.
Yeah, he just became E102 Gamma.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's not what Tails does.
No. Tails is out there with maybe a couple gadgets, but either way, yeah, it's nostalgia can extremely affect how you receive new games, for better or for worse. But yeah,
I was gonna say I feel that because it's a hard factor for developers to deal with, because games cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make nowadays, and even if we take that out, people do want more people to play their game. Like, you don't make a game and be like, man, I only want the same 15 people that played it before. Like, no, it's your art. You're proud of it. You worked as a team to make it. You want more people to see it. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that they don't have to invest 120 hours into the previous franchise's entries in order to enjoy it. So there's always a reset with video games when you get to the next one in a franchise. And I feel like, depending on how strong your nostalgia is or how much you like really enjoyed the friction or something, or certain aspects, when those get, you know, dialed back or made easier or, you know, omitted, it can really affect your perspective, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because, like, just using Monster Hunter, since it's the one that, you know, sparked this question, you know, it's really weird to see people be, like, mad about quality of life things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, the game has never felt better to actually play. But I do agree with criticism, just because, like, you know, I also have nostalgia. I do think the game's too easy. I do think that they didn't tune the game to accommodate the better gameplay feel. But it doesn't mean that the game doesn't feel amazing. It's just that as a veteran, I have to wait for content to get that challenge back.
Yeah.
But, you know, it always throws me off to hear people be like, no, I want this and this. Like, I want it to be how the old ones were. I was like, the old one's still there for you.
Yeah.
I just bought GU for $7. There's 100 monsters in there. You can keep playing that game forever. But, like, just look at the sales of that game compared to World, and you'll understand why they're not making GU 2. Like, just because, like, they have to move forward. Can't stay in the past. I have the same problem with Zelda. I don't really care as much for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom because I miss the old dungeon style and you know, the old formula of get an item, use item to solve dungeon and boss.
Yeah.
I felt like that was my favorite game franchise. Whereas now, I still love Zelda, but it's definitely taken a couple pegs down because I'm just like, I do not get the same satisfaction from this series that I used to.
Yeah.
But that's okay because the franchise is doing better than when I loved it the most.
Yeah.
And while that's sad and it sucks to have to admit it, it's just like, they made the right choice.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I'll pray and have copium every entry that they bring back what I loved about it.
Yeah, I have two comments on developers and their choices that they make with upcoming entries, right? One I'll save for a little bit later, but to kind of talk on what you're saying, I think that it's a good thing to criticize when a game. No, I don't even want to say that. I understand when someone criticizes how a game lost what was the thing about it. Like, for example, the Zelda dungeons, right? That's something that I've only been able to experience lightly due to, number one, not playing Ocarina of Time, barely playing Skyward Sword, and never touching Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. Yeah. I played a little bit of Twilight Princess. I did. I got a couple hours into that. But I completely beat, what's it called? Breath of the Wild, right? And not once in Breath of the Wild or Tears of Kingdom did I ever get that feeling that people kept explaining to me about Zelda dungeons, right? I didn't ever get that. And so I think that there are certain times when a developer's vision gets far away from what the attracted the people in the first place, for better or for worse. It does. And I can understand how there are complaints about, well, who am I going to get this from now at that quality? I can get it from a bunch of other people who were inspired by you, but I'm not going to get it from you, the one who created it, who understands it from top to bottom. So, yeah, I get it. However, counter argument to that is, at what point do we start thinking from the developer side? They make these games. They spend time in and time out, 2 years making the game. I have to like think about the fact that, are they bored making that? And do they want to challenge themselves to make something that's completely outside of their wheelhouse? Because I'm not a game developer. I don't know what it's like to make a game. I don't know what it's like to sit there and painstakingly make something, feel done with it, and want to try something new. So I don't think that conversation gets brought up enough when it comes to the new games that come out. What if making Wild was a breath of fresh air for the development team?
Oh, yeah.
You know? So I think that's something that that it doesn't get brought up in the conversation enough. How do you feel about that?
No, I agree. That's one of the reasons why like I've come to the conclusion that you just have to accept it and then just start looking for elsewhere or continue staying in the past.
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel about like I said about the Zelda games, but I go back and play them. And I'm like, yeah, no, there's a reason I still love this. Will I dream and still hope that they come back to it? Yeah, but I hope that it's something that they want to do.
Yeah.
Because with the direction they've taken, they want more freedom with like Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine with me. I'm more hoping that they're able to still do that direction, but also bring back the elements that I loved.
Yeah.
And mix them. And I think, like, for Monster Hunter, I don't understand, I guess, where, like, that disconnect happens. Because I feel like you're going to get the challenge. You're going to get a lot of the things that people want. They're just not going to be at the base. Because this is a game that's a live service. And so I get a little, like, confused on the response to that one personally, just because I don't feel like it's changed too much of the core of the franchise.
Yeah.
Because like one of the things they've talked about in developer interviews, keeping it with developers, they talked about that one of the things they did with World, why they changed it and why they continue to keep refining it, is their philosophy is how do we get people to fall in love with the Monster Hunter formula? Because here's the thing. I know Master Rank is not going to be easy in Wilds. I just know it's not. But how do you get people who quit at Anjanath in low rank in World? How do you get them to keep playing? Mm-hmm. And Wild's answer to that was make low rank even easier. They did. And then you're also seeing the effect of that, though, is that it sold 8 million in 3 days, and it's continuing to still pop off on Steam and console. And so it's like, I don't get the hatred for them trying to get more people, giving people an easier way into it, but just having to be patient to get what you want as a veteran in that sense. But
I understand where you're coming from. So I'm on the side of like I'm more on the patient side. I just played the content of the game, left the game. I'll come back to it later. Right?
Yeah,
I don't hate them for it, but being in this like middle ground where I understand, like I have a lot of people who are talking about how the game's fine and a lot of people who are like truly hating the game. Right. And I've kind of learned that one of the core things that people enjoyed about Monster Hunter was challenge. That's what got a lot of people into the game. Veterans, essentially. So you take the challenge out. If you take one of the core pillars out, there are going to be some heavy complaints about it. And asking someone to be patient makes sense. But at the same time, they spent $70 or 60 to $70 on the game now. Like, I think that's more than enough spent asking for, hey, I would like a product that also cares about me. Because I do think the game is extremely easy. I think so. Playing it, I was surprised by how easy it was. Yeah. Like, extremely easy. And so, and I thought that I kept telling myself, once I get to the end of high rank, I know that there's going to be a bunch of stuff that unlocks, and that's going to make the game harder. It didn't happen. Now I got to wait for the title update, and I'm putting a lot of trust in them after already spending money on them, which I do have trust because they've given me no reason to not trust them. But there is now a possibility, a universe that exists where the content comes out, the DLC comes out, and it never gets harder because I never expected Wilds to be this easy. Not at all did I expect it to be this easy. So there's a possibility where now my faith in them is shaken just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm still going to be, they're going to have to make a lot of bad games for me to not trust the Monster Hunter team. But I can understand from other people who have been seeing the games get easier and easier because they were like, World is way easier. Rise is way easier. Now Wilds is even easier. They've been disappointed throughout this time.
Yeah. You know what? I should take my comment back because I do get it. It's one of those things that, like, I guess you have nostalgia for something that the developers never intended to be the core value.
Obviously they did.
Yeah. Because, like, well, I've never heard in any developer interview with Monster Hunter, I've never heard them mention that difficulty is a core aspect of Monster Hunter. It's just preparation is, which is something that difficulty does impact. But, you know, they talk about like immersion and hunting and like weapon feel. those are their directions. And, you know, as a Monster Hunter fan, difficulty was not what attracted me, but I came in on World.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty, like, was just part of it because I didn't know what was going on because the game is extremely complex.
Mm-hmm.
Once I understood it, I'm killing monsters in 5 to 7 minutes, just like Wilds. But I will say, though, Wilds, it's easier to get to that point. And I think that's what the hard part is, that like a lot of people want that friction because that process of learning is fun. We've talked about it on previous episodes, but the challenge of video games, like solving the puzzle, you want your brain to work.
Yeah.
And the problem is, though, is you keep coming back to the same puzzles. Eventually, you know how to solve them,
Mm-hmm.
and they just can't mix it up enough for you to feel that stimulation. So I just think it might, like, I think nostalgia affects it, but I also think just, you know, as humans, we're constantly progressing, and sometimes staying in a franchise, especially one that will like continue to make new entries and try to appeal to newer people, you're not going to get that challenge anymore because even Souls games are becoming easier.
Yeah.
Elden Ring is the easiest Soul game ever.
Yes, I was going to use that comparison. I think that that's a great comparison. I actually had a conversation with somebody about this recently. Dark Souls 1 compared to Elden Ring, I've heard, is such a stark difference, almost exactly like GU versus Wilds.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way easier game now, and it's not just that, and it's not in the exact same aspect where the enemies are just easier, because in Elden Ring enemies are difficult.
They're a
but
lot harder.
But the world is easier because you aren't put into claustrophobic places where you have to know everything from top to bottom. You have an open field, you have a map, you have fast travel, you have so many things that you can do in the outside world that will eventually influence the boss fights, because you can go grind areas. That was like a big thing about Elden Ring, is like how easy it was to go and grind things, so that to make yourself stronger to take on these like bosses. And so
Also, player power went through the roof. They because they used to have much harsher caps on your stats back in the Dark Souls trilogy. But now I will say that like enemies are harder, they're faster, they're crazier, but so am I as a player. And luckily, FromSoft hasn't hit that level where people are mad at them for easing it up.
I actually have a question for you on that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the package you were given at base game with Elden Ring comparatively to Dark Souls 1, using nostalgia and like taking in nostalgia, versus Wilds and World? You know what I mean?
I actually felt a little worse about Elden Ring compared to Dark Souls 1 when using like the nostalgia, because when I look back to like my notes and like, you know, our podcast about Elden Ring, I do love it, and I also claimed it as my favorite game. Still do. It's a masterpiece of a product. But there's one part that totally pissed me off: boss variety.
Yeah.
I felt like there was only about 8 to 10 bosses in Elden Ring that were worth my time. A lot of them felt like fodder. A lot of them felt like copy and paste, or that I had played them before. There was too many times that I played in Elden Ring where I went to a boss and I beat him on the first try.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, the struggle isn't here. But then I got to Malenia, Malekith, the whole back half of the game, and I was like, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, that's how I'm feeling about Wilds. But I will say that like Wilds has had better gameplay, which also Elden Ring did. But I like the monsters better. That's why, like, for me, I'm like, I just need them to have more health so that they last a bit longer so I can see them.
I think it's a difference on a live service game, because Elden Ring, once they dropped it, it's like, you know, that's what you got. And with Monster Hunter, we're waiting for the next update already for them to fix the problems that are core issues to the game. It's interesting to look at both of the trajectories of those two franchises and look at the compared complaints, because I think that they're similar complaints about difficulty becoming too easy.
One of the I agree with you, but I also wonder too, just to kind of keep it on Monster Hunter, I do wonder if a lot of people, and I've talked to friends that have this as well, but I feel like there's an issue with comparing the new game to the completed game. Because again, live service, they're fully feature complete, but everyone seems to forget that World had almost the exact same problem that Wilds has. It just was a bit harder, so it took you a bit longer to get to the point where you're like, where's the content? Rise had for me, Rise did worse than Wilds at launch, because when we played Rise together on Switch, I was like, this is easy. Like, enemies were dying in 5 minutes. The wire bug was overpowered as hell. There was no Elder Dragons. Like, the end game, they didn't even have the end boss. That got added in a title update. Like, you didn't even get Zoshia. You, like, that was nuts to me that, like, the story didn't conclude until we got a title update. That game came out way too rushed. Wilds, to me, feels as complete as World. I just burned through it faster because it's easier. And when I looked, because I've watched, like, the history of Monster Hunter recently, and when I look back at, like, Monster Hunter 3, or Tri, as it was called originally, it had 18 monsters.
Yikes.
18, and it had shitty underwater combat. That game got ripped to shreds, but if you talk to people who played Tri Ultimate, they treat it like it's some, you know, godsend game, you know, like that it was the greatest thing Capcom made. Same thing with GU. I don't know anyone who talks about 4 or 4 Ultimate or just Generations. They all talk about Generations Ultimate that has 160 fucking monsters. And I'm like, well, of course. It's 4 games later of the same game. So, like, of course you're going to be disappointed by 29 monsters compared to the full... I mean, even World had 77 at the end. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to get that from Wilds. You're just going to have to be patient. And so... Is
there a point where that constant issue needs to be addressed, where it's like you keep getting a base game that is where you're told, okay, I got through it, now I have to wait?
Well, so the only reason one franchise I'll use as an example of what I think, if you want this is what it looks like, is Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed's probably the only game franchise I know where the next base game has more content than the previous one. But do you really want to play that type of game? Maybe. Not me.
It all depends on the content, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, like, I feel like to make grand changes to a combat system and to a gameplay loop, you cannot have the content back. You can't because they're just... Like, to use Tri, the Monster Hunter Tri as an example, the reason it had 18 monsters was, and from interviews, it was the underwater combat. It was too difficult for them to make, but they got too far into development to cut it. So they had to just release what they had, and it was literally like the smallest roster the franchise has ever had. And it's like, yeah, but it did change the game a lot, and some people loved that. Other people hated it. And so there's no perfect world unless you're willing to wait 20 years for a game where you're going to get what you want like that.
Yeah.
I think, just personally, being realistic, the only way you'll ever get content that's, like, not only better but transformative to a level where a sequel should feel, you're going to be waiting a long time. And I mean, even think about it. Wilds will come out with its expansion a year and a half from now. That means you had to wait 9 years since World to get a game that's feature complete, quote unquote,
to what you expected from the end life of another game service game.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, it just to go back to the, like, main question at hand, I think that nostalgia, it will create unrealistic expectations and certain experiences, and then it also washes clean certain things. Like you said, with Tri, they talk about the final version of Tri, not the beginning version of Tri. Same with GU. I keep hearing about how cool GU is and how disappointing Wilds is compared to GU. And it's like, that's a fully feature complete game that got updates. And that time that is in between the beginning game and the updates gets washed away because it's no longer thought about. So yeah, I just think nostalgia can help fill in those gaps.
Well, I was going to also ask, you brought up a great point, and I would like to address that as well as the opposite end of nostalgia. You know, are there times where nostalgia helps you overlook major faults, where you hear newcomers complain about stuff, but you're just like, it's this game, I like it. To me, like, Pokemon's one of those ones where it gets a pass, even though honestly it should not.
I don't want to I'll have to, like, reach through Like a lot. I mean, Street Fighter's one of them, where people complain about the rigidness of Street Fighter all the time when they come to play it. And they're like, dude, it is so hard to do combos. And I'm like, you got to link, bro. You got to link. That's how Street Fighter works. But let's stick with Pokemon. I think that's a good example of literally no matter how many Pokemon games come out. And you and I have been recently playing Temtem and seen what it's like to iterate on the combat system and try to add layers to it and we find it enjoyable. But no matter what, like even if it comes out with the exact same concept combat system over and over again, I will continue to buy Pokemon because I will continue to overlook my biggest issue with it, which is the evolving combat, just because there's something about the first time of me getting a Game Boy. First fight I ever got into or almost got into was over Pokemon. Like there's just, I have an attachment to it because of I've been playing it my whole life, and I will continue to overlook any of those negatives and continue to, and what I mean by overlook is give them my money because I still want to relive that nostalgia.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I do recognize in myself that I overlook a lot of things when on a first time in a franchise that I do love. And especially if I am enjoying the game enough, I will overlook stuff. Like Tears of the Kingdom's a great example, and so is Wilds. These are both franchises I hold in very high regard, but there are definitely complaints. And when I heard them at launch or in the launch window of me enjoying the game, I tend to dismiss it because I'm like, oh no, I mean, that's valid that you have that perspective. Yeah, it's not over here. I won't second that. I won't co-sign it because I just don't agree, kind of thing. And you're seeing that with Wilds now. I'm over here on its defense soapbox like its attorney, just being like, you guys just don't remember. you just don't know. And it's like, that's not true. I also am guilty of nostalgia bias where I overlook, where I'm like, yeah, it was easy, but it felt good. So it's like, I'm willing to overlook a lot of things on a franchise I love, but I also have had the opposite where I'm also overtly critical of something because I'm like, I remember when it was good.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, the boss music's over. The health bar's completed. We're at the end of the episode. So we're going to give you a video game vocab and final credits. So today's episode, keeping with the couch co-op feel, the vocabulary word today is split screen. And this refers to a multiplayer feature where multiple players can play on the same screen, shocker, with the display divided into sections, each showing a different player's perspective. Split screen allows for local couch co-op gameplay, enabling players to experience multiplayer without needing separate screens or devices. You don't see this too often anymore, but yeah, it is really nice. This is how I used to enjoy games, because can you imagine like nowadays gaming where you would have to buy Halo 3 times for you and your brothers and your sister just to play together? Yeah, I miss split screen.
Yeah, split screen was cost effective, to say the least.
Oh yeah. I'm glad Nintendo's keeping it alive.
Yeah, and same with what is it, Hazelight. They really I know I'm going to gush about this game, but they really push split screen to the next level with how many times that they transition and move the screen around to encapsulate whatever's going on the screen. Sometimes your screen's bigger, sometimes it's less, sometimes it forms together into one screen, sometimes it's top and bottom. They do a lot of different things to play with that split screen aspect.
Yeah, I really like when developers mess with formats.
Yeah,
it's always super cool.
Yeah. All right. And up next is the final credits. But before we get into that, we just want to tell the people where they can find us on the World Wide Web. So I don't use a lot of social media, but you can find me, especially on our new Game Language Instagram. Game Language, all one word, super simple. I'll be posting a lot on there.
Yeah, and you can always find me at pretty much every social media site as Jason the Irish Guy. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and Blue Sky. So you got all four right there.
All right. You trying to collect them all?
Yeah. It's like the Infinity Stones. Eventually, once I get all of them, I can snap them out of existence.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to get into the final credits. Jason, it's your turn. It is time for the final credits. It's the last part of the show where we give
you
30 seconds
uninterrupted
to say whatever your heart desires.
Be it salty,
sweet,
or say nothing at all.
The mic is yours.
Tell us what's on your mind.
All right, ready, Jason? In 3, 2, 1.
I love Monster Hunter Wilds. I know there's a bunch of haters out there, and I've got nothing nice to say to you. Sorry, I don't. Go play GU. Go play that clunky shit. I am liking it, so I don't want to shit on GU too much, but I think your nostalgia blinds you. You're a masochist, a sadist, and I can't stand your 44-minute videos telling me that my game sucks because it doesn't punch me in the dick and balls every 3 seconds.
All right, you're done. Game Language is recorded at Grizzly Voices Studios in Mesa, Arizona. Our producers are Jason Flynn and Troy Brown. Our intro music is our personal track, Penguin Symphony. Our outro music is Jump by Snail's House, also provided by Riot Music. Our editor and sound engineer is Adonis Shiflin.